The election results in West Bengal triggered street celebrations resembling the end of a 50-year siege. Voters had finally dismantled an entrenched political machine. But the new administration isn't taking over a functioning, prosperous state. They are inheriting a balance sheet submerged in 8.15 lakh crore rupees of debt. To understand how India's former industrial powerhouse went broke, you have to look back to the 1960s and 70s. Under communist leadership, the state legalized a protest tactic known as Gherav, where labor unions could literally blockade corporate management inside their offices until demands were met. Faced with state-sanctioned hostility, major manufacturers and corporate headquarters packed up and left. Over the next few decades, thousands of legitimate businesses abandoned the region entirely. The massive economic vacuum they left behind was quickly filled by local strongmen. Neighborhood cut-money syndicates stepped in, demanding a cash percentage off of everything from small business licenses to basic housing construction. The state didn't simply lose its corporate tax base, it actively replaced a legal, regulated commercial economy with a system of institutionalized extortion. This syndicate ecosystem eventually eroded the most basic elements of civil society, with women's safety deteriorating rapidly in areas controlled by local enforcers. The horrifying incidents in Sandesh Kali and RG Kar Medical College represent the logical endpoint of a system where local mafia elements operate with complete political protection. The breaking point for this political machine arrived via a massive demographic shift, driven heavily by the Matua community, a large population of Hindu refugees from Bangladesh. For decades, these refugees were forced into a fragile dependency. To secure basic identification, ration cards, and the right to exist without harassment, they had to deliver absolute loyalty to the local vote bank ecosystem. The central government severed that dependency by passing the Citizenship Amendment Act. By offering a direct, legal route to permanent Indian citizenship, the CAA bypassed the local syndicates entirely. Voters no longer had to trade their dignity and safety for survival. The resulting election mandate was a wholesale rejection of the parasitic networks that had held the region hostage. The new administration targeted the syndicates' cash flow on day one. They issued an immediate ban on the illegal roadside checkpoints and informal tolls used by local party cadres to extort daily commuters and traders. Next, the state government unlocked massive central welfare programs that previous leadership had blocked. They implemented the 7th Pay Commission for civil servants and rolled out Ayushman Bharat, bringing 5 lakh rupees of annual health coverage to millions of low-income residents. These rollouts are structurally lethal to corruption. Because benefits are now linked directly to citizens via Aadhaar cards, the funds bypass the local middlemen who traditionally skimmed the payouts. Then came the most aggressive physical maneuver. Chief Minister Suvendu Adhikari mandated that all required land along the international border must be acquired and handed over to the Border Security Force within exactly 45 days. This rapid deadline is an operational strike. By accelerating the physical barrier, the state suffocates the local extortion rings and chokes their international supply lines. To understand the stakes, look at the schematic of the Bengal-Bangladesh border. This geography has long been a highly lucrative corridor for moving illegal cattle out of India, while pumping fake Indian currency and contraband right back in. Historically, major narcotics from the Golden Triangle flowed into India further east through Myanmar, but intense operations by Indian security forces along the northeast border severely disrupted those traditional routes. International cartels adapted by charting a new path. They shifted their product through Bangladesh, aiming straight for the 850 kilometers of difficult, completely unfenced terrain along the West Bengal border. Profits from this narcotic superhighway enrich local smugglers, while providing a massive, untraceable funding source for radicalized political violence and terror modules operating across the region. Completing the physical perimeter is the only viable way to cut that financial artery. A continuous, heavily guarded fence breaks the chain linking local political strongmen to international cartels. On the ground, state police are now actively coordinating with national forces. The BSF is aggressively enforcing its expanded 50-kilometer jurisdiction deep into state territory to hunt down the remaining smuggling networks. But this rapid militarization is creating friction abroad. Leadership in Dhaka has openly criticized the expedited fencing project, viewing the sudden rollout of barbed wire as a diplomatic slight. India now walks a highly sensitive geopolitical tightrope. The government must physically harden the border against cartel incursions without suffocating the dense web of legitimate family ties, daily trade, and economic corridors that bridge the two nations. Almost overnight, West Bengal's internal crackdown has scaled up. State-level law enforcement decisions are now the defining parameters of India's foreign policy in the East. Even if the border is totally secured, the administration still has to defuse the massive 8.15 lakh crore rupee debt bomb. Shutting down the corruption pipelines and restricting unstructured freebies is simply the baseline requirement to keep the state solvent. The long-term objective requires completely overwriting a half-century of syndicate control. The state has to establish predictable, transparent policies and heavily invest in capital infrastructure to convince private industries that it is finally safe to return. By rewiring its internal economy and physically barricading its international border, West Bengal is establishing a new baseline of fiscal stability and border integrity